Hello everyone, and welcome back to the White Coat Wisdom. I'm your host Akshar, and in today's episode, we'll talk about the expectations versus what really happens inside a medical college. So, whether you are dreaming of becoming a doctor, currently in medical school, or just curious, this episode will give you a candid look at the highs, lows, and the surprises of the medical journey. So, before starting the podcast, I would like to thank each and every one of you who have shown the support for the show either by streaming it, liking and sharing the show. It really means a lot, especially in the initial phase of the podcast. And I'm really thankful and grateful for every one of you who have taken the efforts to personally DM me and appreciate the initiative and also give suggestions towards the show. We would be soon inviting guests to the podcast. So if you have any particular person in mind who you feel that can share his or her insights towards the goal of this podcast of making medical education and making the medical fraternity more connected and a better place, please do suggest me the guests. And if you feel you have something to share which could benefit the medical fraternity, please feel free to kindly connect, and probably we can have you on the show as well. The reason for starting the podcast solo is I have my final year university exams coming up in a month, so I really cannot dedicate much of a time in adjusting to the time of the guest and doing the post-editing work of a guest podcast. But let's see if I can have the time to invite a guest and make a quality podcast. I would be happy to publish it. So you can connect with me. So let's start with when I first stepped into medical school, I had this expectations that there would be a bustling campus, there would be intellectually stimulating classes, and of course I would be saving lives and creating an impact. But sadly, none of those things happen at the end of first year. Because the thing is, in first year, you have zero patient interactions. You are not allowed to go anywhere near the campus of the hospital. It's not that you are not allowed to go, but the thing is you do not have enough competency to go into the hospital ward and diagnose a patient or even examine a patient for that matter. So that was the first reality check I got. First year revolves mostly around your academics and more of the theoretical part rather than the patient interaction. You do have a lot of practical sessions, especially in anatomy, where you have dissection sessions, which is approx 7 to 8 hours per week. So that's a lot. And physiology practicals in which you actually learn to examine a normal patient or a normal person before you start examining the patients in your second year. So it's necessary to have gone through those practical and those experiences before stepping into the ward. And in biochemistry practicals, it's more like chemistry practicals in which you do CSF analysis and urine analysis rather than having patient interaction. So the most embarrassing moment I think after entering the medical school is when some of your relative hands you over some drugs, hands you over their reports, and God forbid to examine them, and you are just clueless about what to do, and they give you a strange look that aren't you in medical school? But then we have to explain them that we are just in the first year, and most of the time in first year we spend around either cadavers or examining our fellow colleagues in physiology practical or doing some weird urine analysis in the biochemistry practical. So that's the experience at the end of first year. But no doubt, first year, like many of us picture a glamorous experience inspired by TV shows such as Grey's Anatomy and House MD of diagnosing patients and having a adrenaline rush, resuscitating a patient's life. But none of them actually happens in the first year. But the good thing about the first year is that you will make a lot of memories. Because first year, I think in my opinion, is the most vivid year of all of the MBBS because it's completely a new experience. Most probably you have moved out of your home for the first time. You are into a new city, you are into a new campus. You make a lot of friends, you create memories. You have these all new subjects like anatomy and physiology and biochemistry even, in which you find yourself sometimes lost. Like it's like anatomy is so vast, it's like a sea and you feel like you are lost in the middle of the sea. But as and when the exam approaches, you know how to read, you take guidance from your seniors, you know what are the IMP topics, you know the importance of drawing diagrams in anatomy, and you appreciate the clinical anatomy, you appreciate that this knowledge that we gather in first year is somehow going to make us a good doctor when we enter into the third year, in the final year. Not true about biochemistry, but anyways, the anatomy and physiology knowledge does come handy in the final year. And on the serious note, even biochemistry, the things we learn, the vitamin deficiencies we learn, the manifestations which we learn in, let's say, any genetic disease, glycogen storage disease, vitamin deficiency, they do show up in actual patients when we are in the wards in the final year. So no aid for that subject, but it just feels out of place in first year, right? No one really resonates with biochemistry a lot. Second myth is, or the second piece of expectation which we have during entering the medical school is, it would be like any other college. Like the college life would be filled with parties and night outs and chilling with friends, bunking classes. Of course, all of these things happen in medical college too. I myself am guilty of bunking a few classes in first year and having different fests, celebration in the college. We have celebrating the different days coming into college. But the thing is, the magnitude and the proportion of that is very low as compared to any other non-medical college, right? And most of the memories of the first year of my revolve around studying anatomy for late nights with a group of friends. Actually, I had two great friends which have stuck together since first year, Manav, Vyas and Ishit Thakur. And we three had a sort of little triad in which we used to study anatomy sitting right next to the dissection hall for late nights, having a great time together. And that's the most important thing, I feel, like having a group of friends, even if a group is as small as 3 people, but having them throughout the medical journey is quite important. So you have these sorts of small parties and small celebrations and fun time. You find joy in these little things of life, but there is no like college life which is depicted in movies, right? Reality paints a very different picture, especially in medical college. The second thing is the academics part. It really takes you on your knees. It's quite a humbling experience. So yeah, I remember walking into my first anatomy exam feeling confident, only to come out wondering if I would ever pass this exam or if I would ever understand the complexities of the human body. Or the first time I walked into the hospital ward in my second year expecting to diagnose a patient, but ending up only holding the radiological charts and the wavy lines of the ECG, trying to interpret it and what is that lines are trying to tell me. But it's quite a humbling experience. And on the other end, you see the consultants, the residents, the SRs taking rounds and being so swift in their diagnosis and in their clinical acumen. That's when you kind of develop the respect for the profession. That's when you respect the experience which is required and which is imperative in a field of medicine. So what are the key takeaways and what are the coping strategies and lessons that you can learn if you are planning to enter medical school or if you are in your initial years in medical school? The first thing I would like to tell is adaptation is a key in surviving med school. Like in 11th and 12th grade, you must have been the toppers of your batch and only then you have entered the medical school. But the first exam of the first year, which is usually anatomy, humbles you a lot and it shows you the reality and gives you a reality check on what this MBBS journey is filled with. You get to know the importance of consistency right in the first year, that if you don't study every day for at least 2 to 3 hours, the ends are not going to meet. You would pass your exam eventually, but the confidence which you get after studying a subject would be missing. Second is building a community and leaning on your peers for support, be it via study groups, shared struggles, or celebrating small wins together. Third is organization and time management. The importance of organizing and managing time is especially important in MBBS because MBBS and the medical journey as a whole is a very long process. It's more of a marathon than a sprint. So if you go all in and just study, you will be burned out in no time. It's important to balance your life, keeping your hobbies, keeping your relationships, keeping your family glued when any important exam is approaching. You should know that more of your time should skew towards the studies part, and after the exams are over, you can again compensate that with going out and building some new hobbies and giving more of your time towards your co-curriculars. The fourth thing is celebrating small wins, because in MBBS it's very important to get that satisfaction in every step of your journey. As I said, it's like a marathon. So if any one of you have ever been in a marathon, you would know that crossing each and every kilometer gives you a small happiness, gives you a small shot of dopamine. That okay, we are 1 kilometer down, we are 2 kilometers down, especially when you are towards the end of your marathon. because it keeps the larger picture in mind, and it also helps you tackle the daily problems and the daily challenges. And finally is keeping the big picture in mind, knowing why you started this journey. As this journey is more than a decade long, you would doubt your decisions, you would feel hopeless, you would feel crestfallen, but it's important to push through that feeling, take a 1 or 2 day break, give yourself some time to recover, and then again get the big picture, get the perspective in mind, and start working towards it. So medical college isn't just about academics. I feel it's a journey of personal growth. You yourself learn a lot about yourself when you are under stress, when you are under time crunch, and when you need to balance these many sorts of things in your life around medicine. While it may not match the glamour of our initial expectations, but it offers something far more rewarding. You discover things about yourself that were not known to you during the medical school. And it's also a time to explore your hobbies, to explore different aspects of life, to get to know yourself better, to develop skills, and to develop the mindset which you might require years down the line when you start practicing as a doctor. It also gives you a profound understanding of life, resilience, and power of healing. It's tough, but every challenge you will face in this phase of your life will definitely make you stronger. So with that, we come to the end of this second episode of White Coat Wisdom. Thank you for joining me today. If this episode resonated with you, or if you have your own expectation versus reality story about med school, I would love to hear them. And don't forget to follow White Coat Wisdom on Spotify, YouTube, and catch our next episode where we will discuss the time management and balancing your life during medical school next Sunday, 6 p.m. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and stay curious. Thank you.